Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So that being said, I recorded and uploaded to Blacktreon and Odyssey for $1 what I let premiere yesterday regarding Auston Holleman. I've since had to update one facet of my opinion, and I'll tell you about that now. But it'll be very rarely that I take something, upload it on one of the paid venues, and then turn around and let it be free later on. That's rarely going to happen, if ever. I want to take this time also to give a shout out to my Blacktreon subscribers and welcome to my new ones. Now, you didn't give me permission to say your names on here, so I won't, but you know who you are. And from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind, welcome and thank you. Next. I'm going to avoid putting musical tracks on the YouTube versions because of the copyright disputes. I have the licenses to end the disputes. It's the time that gets to me, that bothers me. I'm not even collecting AdSense through YouTube. I can't. But it's the time that gets to me. I may or may not do them on Odyssey depending upon the ease with which I can add the tracks for which I already have the licenses or the free tracks to overlap the sound of the particular length of the video. That's going to determine whether or not a musical version or a musical background goes on to the Odyssey versions. I've experimented with it, and even though I put the Odyssey links up here, and I've already taken some music less versions to put on YouTube and put the music background versions on Odyssey, the views on Odyssey have not yet gone up based on that. They've gone up based on other things, but not based on that. And some videos I will be putting only on Odyssey, a few of them, especially if I think that YouTube's going to take them down. That being said, now that we got that out the way, there is something I need to update about my opinion regarding Auston Holleman and what his enemies have shown us. BGS and Edward do have a lot to do with me updating this facet of my opinion. I maintain that Auston could possibly have been more diplomatic and he could have worded certain things better, but I don't expect that someone his age that just recently became an adult legally and is new to publicity and such a large audience would have the practice to do so. I've been public speaking since before there was an internet. Growing up in a pro-black household where Malcolm X was a hero and reading his book, which was eloquently written, and having a mother that really helped out with writing and with proper usage of English, and two parents that were very good at public speaking, I had an unfair advantage. When I was 23, I knew how to argue, how to debate, and just how to extemporaneously publicly speak about a particular topic. So I was fortunate. I could do this by the time I was 16 with some skill. It's not Auston's fault he didn't have that opportunity. Could he have done better? Possibly, sure, but it would take training and experience. Then again, I can't give anybody a fade with the same level of skill that Auston can. So Auston trod new ground, whereas I haven't done much groundbreaking in my life. What I want you all to know, though, is this. Though Auston could have possibly worded it better if he had been trained or practiced at it, keep in mind that BGS has been right and Edward's been right, and somebody in Edward's chat whose name I forgot has been right about this. If it was not Auston, they would have gone after somebody else. And to be honest with you, Auston, if you hear this, we need to have a chat. Now, you're not in trouble, not with me at least. You're not in trouble. I need to thank you for something, Auston. And the only way I know to really thank you is to give you a backup plan of which I know for the event that YouTube shuts you down or bans you. I'm not very good at making a lot of money at one time, Auston. I'm very good at minimizing loss of whatever it is that you do make. I'm good at that. My backup plan involves some benefit to you and another benefit even to a third party that does not know it yet. So he's not paid me or told me to mention this. It's the only way I know to thank you. Because in all honesty, you see, and I'll tell all of you this, and this is why I'm thanking you, Auston. If it had not been Auston, it could have been any of us. I'm a nobody. No proper name, no legal name given, no face. There are people in my audience that know me and know who I am, but most of you don't. 3,839 of you don't know who Black Mine is legally and on a passport and on a government issued identity document. And that's okay. Now, right now, if I was doxxed, I'd lose a job, but I mean, hell, I'm already, financially speaking, I'm already behind. If I had been treated fairly by my company and I was working the same gig as I was the same gig I already was working for the last about 7 months, actually, then things would have been okay. The end of May was the last time that I actually walked into a classroom at my normal job. And then y'all know about me having to work at one of these learning centers odd hours for about a month in Riyadh. And I still haven't gotten that salary. So I'm still several months behind. I would have been about 18,000 US ahead of where I am, right? Mother cuss word now, had it not been for that. Had I just been working the normal schedule. Let me be generous, maybe 14,000 US ahead of where I am now. The business I started in the third country would have been opening for it would have now been finishing its first month and a half or its second month. And it would have been turning over something, maybe. Making something. Only question would it have exceeded the expenses? Do you understand? If I had been in that position, a lot of things would be different. A lot of my recordings would have been different. I would have been talking about how good things are. And sisters would have probably come in and gone after me to mess things up for me. But because things are still somewhat messed up and I'm getting out of the woods slowly, the attention was on Auston because he was doing so well. And everybody could see it. And he didn't hide his name. They were going to go after him. Had it not been him, it could have been any others of us. Could have been me. They go after Edward, except for two things. Number one, you got enough gynocrat goons and matriarchal man dingoes going after him, and he's still in the States. They probably would have gone after BGS too, but you already have so-called Grandmaster Troll that went after him. And he's still in the States, and he's in his, I think he said he's in his 70s. Plenty of others they could have gone after one master teacher. Yeah, they'd have gone after me. They absolutely would have gone after me. At some point. They may still do it. But the thing is that my chances and a lot of other men's chances will greatly reduce because he was high profile and he put himself in a position to take that hit for us. And I almost wonder if he did it intentionally sometimes. But whether he meant to or not, I can tell you that they were going to go after somebody. And BGS is right in that while you can individually choose to move in stealth for your own benefit and to increase your own chances of getting out, for which Brazil Yesh is very, very intelligent to recommend. Collectively speaking, we cannot afford to move in fear. Stealth is fine, but not fear. You can feel fear. I understand why you should feel fear, but to actually move in fear is not something we can afford to do because they're going to go after someone all the time. Every time they're not going to stop and they're not going to change. Like the U.S. military has bases abroad everywhere, which is one of the means by which many of you became passport bros, or like me, SYSBM and IBMOR. And I will speak on behalf of IBMOR and passport bros and passport gang, not to fornicate, but to have options. And to represent our men to the rest of the world. That's the other thing. However, Just like the U.S. has military bases abroad, feminists already have cultural and legal support abroad in certain places, depending on where you go. And some of them are traditional. Now, Brazil as a country is relatively new. As a colony, it's relatively new. Tunisia used to be Carthage, very old, very traditional. Feminism is in its laws to a certain extent. For one, they enforce monogamy. A man can only marry one wife. If the man files for divorce, the wife can get money. If she files for divorce, the man can't get money. You understand that? What you think the women do there? They can't respect men because the men can't marry another wife. They can't get any competition, so they can't respect the men, but they're not going to file for divorce and leave because they ain't going to get the money if they file. So they try to drive the men away. That's what they do. And they're always going to do that. India has laws that are gender specific, and they are more oppressive than the laws are in the United States. Because in the U.S., a woman who's the main breadwinner could wind up having to pay alimony. In India, it is the husband that pays alimony in the event of a divorce, whether he filed or she filed. He ain't getting out of that. They're not going to change that. They're not going to do away with that. Why would they? That would make things easy, entirely too easy, and they can't stand the thought of that. They can't stomach the idea of things being easy for the men there in India. And India is not traditionally matriarchal. This is something that's had to be introduced recently, or rather in relatively recent decades. But they got these laws on the books that put the man on the hook. What do you think the women do in India? Ask them Indian men. They're not being respected like they used to be. Tradition dictates that, but the law does not. And so therefore the tradition is eroding. I have a schoolmate. He was 2 years ahead of me. No, 1 year ahead of me. Schoolmate. He was from India. Went to Morehouse. Morehouse had several exchange students, and quite a few of them were from the subcontinent. This guy went to Morehouse. A year ahead of me, we met. I was not Muslim at the time. He is. And this man told me about how feminism had affected his upbringing. And this man is about a year older than I am. When he was growing up, his mother did not penalize his sister for hitting him, but he got penalized when he hit his sister in retaliation. He found out later his mother was a feminist. It's been there a while. So the opinion that I'm not changing is what I've said that men need to do. You can move in stealth individually. That's up to you. What I would say is that men who find they can afford to move in noise, go ahead and do so. If you got legal training like and experience like Attorney Sperling, go ahead and get ready to file suits. Because when these women make these accusations and they're false, defamation is generally hard to prove in court. The problem is that when they're out here making videos of themselves lying, and then you can show that you suffered something around the time of this video or around the time of that video, especially if you were named, then you've got a good way, you've got a good chance. And sometimes people simply don't want to face anything in court. These sisters are trying to get other governments to do their job for them. They're not trying to actually have to go into a courtroom and fight it themselves. You understand? So if you got that ability, go ahead. You choose how stealthily you are going to move individually. But collectively speaking, we don't need to try to be under the radar. Individually, it makes sense you should. And you know what? Join my Black Treon. I say join my Black Treon because I've already talked about this. Travel tips, I think 2 and 3 or 1 and 2. I talk about this in the travel tip series. In the travel tip series, I tell you who your enemies are, how to leave stealthily, how to make sure that you remain able to leave, from whom you should hide it. I tell you who's going to try to sabotage your plans and your ability to leave and how they're going to try to do it. I tell you these things in there in the travel tip series, just in the travel tips. I tell you what you can show, what you cannot show. How to prevent certain problems and inconveniences that jump up and affect other people. whether they're passport bros or they're just business travelers, things that happen to them. I tell you these things, so go ahead and join. It's only $5 a month. Hit it up. But you know, Brazil Yes is right about how you move individually. If you need to, move stealthily. Mr. Holleman really didn't need to do so, so he didn't. And it wound up in the long run seemingly working out better for him in terms of subscriber counts. Now, for me, what's important to me is that the message gets out and the money is important, although I'm willing to make most of my money through my profession. Those are the things that are important to me. So for me, I would have said, well, okay, subscribers are nice, but what about that dough? At least I want to make sure I don't lose any dough. And one of the reasons I'm not losing any, even though I don't have any now to lose, one of the reasons I'm not losing dough is because Auston Holleman took this high profile. So he wound up taking a lot of shots and a lot of arrows. That's what wound up happening. So many of us who are sitting up here and about to point fingers at him and bash him don't understand that he took arrows. Now, granted, he said that he is down there fornicating, but he didn't display that. He didn't depict himself fornicating. Didn't put anything X or R rated there. He confessed to it. Yes, if he goes into a Muslim jurisdiction, I don't know if they're going to prosecute. I don't think they can prosecute for what he does outside of a Sharia jurisdiction. And there's not technically an authentic Sharia jurisdiction right now that I know of, except a few provinces and a few states within nations, not nations themselves. But if he went there and then confessed to doing something like that, there he could be prosecuted and he could be flogged. But, and that's not, I'm not saying this even rejoicing per se. It's just, I'm just saying that's what the rules are. It's nothing personal. It's like that. I'd actually be stoned to death if I'm proven to commit fornication, because it would be adultery. And if I divorce and I commit fornication, it would still be adultery. So for me, if I'm proven to have done that under the Sharia, I'm subject to the death penalty. Because I've been married before. But Auston Holleman took a lot of shots for us. Took a lot of attention away from many others of us. If you were going to, if you want to advise him, sure. I mean, you know what, Auston, if you're hearing this and you get in touch with me, man, yeah, I would offer you advice. And I'm telling you now, I wouldn't offer it with rancor or hatred. I just tell you what little bits I know that might help you in terms of your safety and your options and not losing money. I can't tell you how to make a lot of money at one time yet, but I can tell you how to not lose any. I'm very good at minimizing loss. That I'm pretty good at. And I'd be able to, I'd be able to help you with accessing money from abroad. Absolutely. We'd have to talk about that though, just between us. But yeah, I would offer advice to him with no hatred or rancor, and he could probably give me advice. The fact that he's 23 doesn't mean he doesn't know anything I don't know. But many gentlemen that are pointing fingers at him and you're talking down to him, especially if it's not about fornication, you just got stuff safe. You can have your opinion, but if you're talking down to him, but in front of everybody else, understand he took arrows on your behalf. He stopped bullets that would have otherwise been aimed at your black behind. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. You want to talk down to him or talk down at him or talk down about him to someone else, you should be thanking him. I'm not saying it's like he's a savior or a messiah. He's just a young man that took a brave step and wound up doing us a favor. And so, yeah, give him credit where it's due. Thank him. I myself, I would like to speak with him and thank him. Absolutely, I would. The other thing too is that, as I was going to say, I didn't change my opinion about what we need to do in order to combat the spread of feminism abroad. I did not change my opinion about that. We need to reach out to these other men from these other societies, from these other countries. Get in touch with them. If you're not already there, get in touch with some if you can. If you're already there, you need to be their buddy. That's one way you represent black men positively anyway, and we're generally friendly people, especially those of us that are about something in life. We may be a bit pointed and short when it comes to time because we got stuff we got to do, but we're generally a friendly people. People generally do think that we know how to treat them better than even our white Western counterparts. That's real. That's one of the reasons why women in Southeast Asia look at us as a better catch. They look at our white Western counterparts that make the same amount as us, and a lot of times they'd rather us. They say we treat them better. They say we got more in common with them. Culturally speaking, we adapt to the weather better. That's one of the reasons they prefer us. They actually see that when it comes to the weather in those areas, we deal with it better because we come from similar climates, ancestrally. And that is true. Even here, the Arabs will say that black folks don't like the cold. It's true, we don't. So there are parts of the world where you are preferred over even the white, with other things being equal. So you can reach out to these dudes and become their buddies because even they may see you as better buddies. You don't entertain notions that you are racially superior to them. That still remains the way to combat the spread of feminism, but you're not going to be able, individually, yes, but collectively you cannot move in stealth and think you're going to combat this. Thanks for listening. Black heart, black mind, blackout. As always, assalamu alaikum, a black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, a black patriarchy till extinction of judgment day. And thank you for flying with me on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with me till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.